Yeah, 360. Yeah, I'm not. Be like round and round and round we go. And where we stop, I'm like nobody knows. 360 degrees, 360 degrees. We give you what you want, we give you what you need. 360 degrees, 360 degrees. We tell the real truth, you know what I mean?
And welcome to another episode of 360 Degrees, bringing you the news you can use, breaking it down with a little bit of clown. All right.
Don't do that no more.
All right. Yo, do your thing.
Good morning, guys. So I'm going to start today's session with a quick pop quiz. How many of you can correctly identify Omarosa's title in the White House?
Telecommunications Director Liaison for the African community, for the urban community.
And you had to look that up, didn't you? Because I had to look it up.
No, I just made that up. I knew it had something to do with
her.
Oh, it's actually very close.
It had to be something to do with her being the president.
That was a really good guess. Like, you would have gotten, half credit for faking the funk. And it's actually pretty close. It's pretty close.
Yeah.
Honestly, I couldn't tell you. So it was kind of a trick question because I could not tell you. I know that that's not it, though. The title is, because it's hella long, it's Assistant to the President. Liaison is somewhere in the title. Surprisingly, urban is nowhere in the title because I kept waiting to hear it, too. I was like, well, damn, like, it seems like it's, like, this is my black friend, and just like he took a whole-ass doctor in, what's his name? Damn, what's that surgeon's name? That's the urban development.
Oh, it's about Ben Carson.
Right. So he took a whole-ass doctor, qualified doctor, and instead of making him the Surgeon General or something else that makes sense, I guess, he was like, nope, I'm going to make you the leader of HUD because you're black and you've got to identify with what that is. So Omarosa is his homie lover friend, maybe, I don't know, and he decides to put her in the White House, and it's definitely a made-up-ass title, no cabinet position, because that title never existed before with any presidency. And the drama and the word on the street is, not only is Omarosa no longer employed as of January 20th, but she was dragged out of the White House in a very messy way, very fitting of this administration. Everything they do is messy. And I share Angela Rye's sentiments. We've seen a lot of black women who are in good positions to be, the faces of the media. We saw Robin Roberts kind of react in a way to Michael Strahan's interview. And I'm going to actually pause it right there because when I saw that Omarosa was already having an exclusive or a sit-down with GMA, the first thing I said was, I know Robin Roberts ain't going to do it, so who else did they get to do it? And then I see Michael Strahan's face, and I'm like, okay. So they wanted
he seemed out of his depth when in that interview. Like that, I don't know if that's really his thing. I know he's like the whole Michael and Kelly Ripa horse shit, but I saw him interview Omarosa, and I was like, okay. I didn't even think about it like someone else wasn't going to do it.
Oh, absolutely. That's like Robin Roberts, I'm sure, would have done it if it was anybody else but Omarosa. And the disgust on her face was painfully obvious after that interview. But I do agree, Michael Duff was out of his element. I almost would have rather GMA take another knowledgeable anchor. Or get one of the I don't watch on the weekends, but I'm sure they have a black weekend anchor who's like kind of willing to come up, but maybe that was Omarosa's thing. Maybe she didn't want or wasn't willing to do it unless Robin Roberts or Michael Strahan did it. So they kind of had to, I don't know. It was a mess. But ultimately, she threw in some fake-ass crocodile tears and talked about how she wanted to get in there to help her people. And, yeah, at the end of it, Robin Roberts threw some great professional shade and said, bye, Felicia, and looked at the camera with her eyes rolling, like, whatever, get out of here. And that pretty much was the sentiment, but I wasn't as professional as Robin. I was more of an Angela Rye. Angela Rye got her good black ass up on CNN and said, ah, like she did one of those like Nelson laughs and like, I know y'all won't say it, but this is how I feel, and just let out a good hearty ass laugh at Omarosa's expense. And she definitely was like, I hope this is the last time we have to hear from her. And for those that are probably wondering, like, who the hell is Omarosa? Basically, she was on The Apprentice way back in the day. That's a show I never watched. But she was on that show and was known as the villain on that show. But to my knowledge, she actually is intelligent. Like, she holds book smart anyway, book intelligent.
Right.
She holds degrees, and was she a practicing lawyer?
I don't know. I just know her as the woman who killed Michael Clark Duncan, because they were engaged, I think. And I think
yeah,
Michael
they were
Clark
engaged.
I think he just woke up one day and was like, holy shit, I'm about to marry this bitch. Dead. Okay, that's horrible, because I love Michael Clark Duncan. I miss him. But
somebody fucked around and actually married her. I remember, and if I'm not mistaken, her husband is actually a Democrat. I feel like I heard her say that on the Wendy Williams show.
I mean, you figure somebody like Tom Brady is a conservative, but his wife, who wears the pants in the family, she's a Democrat, which is why Tom Brady ain't go to the White House when they won the Super Bowl last year. Because the wife is probably like, oh, you wanna go to the White House and hang out with your buddy, or you want some pussy? What do you want to do? And he just chose the pussy, I guess. I mean, his wife is a supermodel, so good choice. But I mean, for someone like Omarosa, it reminds me of Ice Cube's song, True to the Game, where he was like, and you might have a heart attack when you find out black folks don't want you back. I mean, I don't think they wanted her in the first place, which is how she ended up in the Trump camp.
We've been traded her. I don't know who we traded her for. I don't know if we traded her for...
we traded her for Gary Owens.
I was going to say, yeah, Gary Owens, or probably... But and to keep it in the political climate, we probably traded her for Bernie. Bernie been ours anyway, but yeah. She's definitely been out of the loop, and I don't understand why people time and time again decide to be Team Trump and then are surprised. Like, we tell them over and over again, okay, if you do this shit, like, you know that we not fucking with you no more. We as a collective black unit are not messing with you no more. And then they're like, oh, whatever. I'm still going to get my money. Or I'm going to get inside and try to, like, infiltrate or whatever. Like, we don't want you back after that. Like, we warned you. We told you what it is. No, you don't get to come back and get to point. Like, the whole thing that I think was interesting to me about this situation is the fact that 45 is notorious for continuously demeaning people after they leave the White House. And I feel like that's just part of his, because as unpredictable as he seems, he's really very predictable. And when it comes to people quitting him or quitting on him, he will talk shit to anybody that will listen. And he will get on Twitter and spew hate at that person's direction and say, well, you want shit anyway, and I never wanted you to be here, and basically, like, you're fired. Like, you didn't quit me, I quit you. The fact that he didn't do that here, he got on Twitter and said, I'm going to wish her the best and thank you for your service. That, to me, says that situation was messy. He did have a hand in her firing. But why he didn't go his usual messy route maybe speaks to the fact that, I don't know, like Pam, you guys know, I call my mother by her name. Pam strongly believes that they were fucking. I don't know why, but she's just like, I think she thought that she was, that she really thought she was
untouchable.
Yeah, untouchable and like on some Kerry Washington scandal type levels. Just because there are reports saying like she tried to go to the White House and actually talk to him, but John Kelly stopped her and said that he had already signed off on everything. So the fact that you think your lover or quote unquote friend would save you definitely says that she's delusional, because he went ahead and shit on her in the end anyway. So I'm just like, why do you think that like he's horrible to all these people and you're going to be so special? Like, no, girl, that's not how it works. I do think that she had something on him. That's why he couldn't get on Twitter and drag her ass like he does everyone else.
You know, in another time and place, I would say that the whole Omarosa's fucking Donald Trump thing would be far-fetched. And although I did hear a comedian once say, well, the only way I know how to make diamonds is to jerk off an old man. But the whole thing with Trump is that I mean, you figure Trump would probably just hump anything with a pulse, aside from his own wife. I mean, it's not only because his wife don't really want him.
He'll hump anything that'll hump him back.
Yeah, and the thing with Omarosa is, I mean, and keep in mind this is just all speculation. There's no truth to any of this. But Odie brings up a great point. If Trump torches everybody who quits or gets fired, why didn't he torch Omarosa? So what does she have on him? Maybe they were, you know, maybe she was trying to get up the corporate ladder, so to speak. Or, like you said, maybe she does have something on him. But I think it's because he's the least self-aware person I know, but just aware enough to know that if I throw gasoline on this bonfire, I'm going to lose my eyebrows and maybe get some third-degree burns. He's already feeling the hurt from backing Roy Moore. This Roy Moore thing is basically egg on his face right now, because he backed a known, alleged, as Stephen Colbert calls it, team squeezer, and then he lost. So they lost a seat that they held for 25 years. And it already looks bad on him. If he goes after Omarosa after this, I mean, granted, he only got like 8% of the black vote, but he can get less. He can get far less. So it ain't like black folks are voting for him in droves, but this would have, it would reverberate across a lot of spectrums if he were to go after Omarosa. So as long as Omarosa keeps a low profile and keeps her mouth shut, and she has been so far, you know, she'll just slide out of it smooth. But you know,
yeah. But I think too that was part of the strategy of making sure that her position officially ends January 20th. Mm-hmm. So it's like she was laid off, and she gets to keep like some sort of compensation package through January 20th.
Right.
I just feel like there's something in that clause that says it has to be a year. Like, so basically she probably has to keep her mouth shut through January 20th. And eventually, maybe half of the book will be written by then, and we can get a couple of excerpts to see what it says. But I think January 21st, she's going to be talking, and she's going to try to make herself relevant again. Because, as intelligent as that woman seems to be, as business savvy as she seems to be, people are a lot more concerned with being famous and being infamous. And she's not going to go away because she's gotten that itch of the fame monster. She wants to be relevant.
You know, and she's going to find out the hard way that there's a difference between being relevant and being respected. You know, I mean, you figure Migos is relevant right now. They're on top of the charts. They got, you know, they're nominated for a couple of Grammys. But in 10 years, who's going to give two squirts of piss about Migos? You know, and I'm talking as an old man of music. But in politics, you figure who's going. Oh, sorry. You figure in politics, right? Being relevant, or even just in general fame. You know, I mean, everybody knows who William Hung is, but no one's like, oh, William Hung. No one gives a shit about that goofy motherfucker. He's just basically the dude who failed on, American Idol and got himself a little record deal for like 2 seconds, and then he's gone. You know, being infamous has its cost. And right now, like you said, she's infamous. You know, she's not really relevant. No one's going to give her a job on a show. No one's going to give her a job at a newspaper. No one's going to hire her for a communications position. No one's going to. So everybody knows who Omarosa is, but no one gives a shit about her. So it's
News is going to give her work.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't give her work.
Somebody's going to give her work because it's going to mean ratings.
Figure it like this.
She's at.
But that could backfire. Look what happened with Megyn Kelly. You know, Megyn Kelly, they gave her that top slot, paid her all that money, told her NBC, and her ratings were in the toilet. Because everybody remembers, oh, it's that goofy bitch from Fox News who keeps telling people that Santa Claus is white. and the one who made all those racist statements. So, yeah, they may go for the ratings in the short term, but it's going to cost them in the long term. And I think that hopefully there's enough examples out there where people will see that it's not worth it to hire her for something high profile, I should say.
Yeah, maybe like a commentator here and there. That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. Well, good riddance.
How the old folks say, good riddance to bad rubbish?
Okay, yeah, I guess so.
So he's like, I'm not old, so I would not know that thing.
Never heard an old person say that, but okay,
right,
sure.
It sounds right, though. Good riddance to bad rubbish. I'm with it.
But you figure, you have more before I run my mouth?
Nope, that was it.
Okay. You figure with all the stuff going on in the Trump White House, right? With Omarosa, you know, with her messy firing, with the Roy Moore debacle, you know, the last thing. Oh, and this horrible tax bill, which nobody likes, except for the very rich, and even some rich people are just like, really? No, we don't need all this, you know. But you figure it like this, right? One of the worst things that happened to America is something that no one ever talks about, the fact that corporations are considered to be people, okay? So if you look at Wikipedia, they call it corporate personhood. So corporate personhood is the legal notion that a corporation, separately from its associated human beings, like owners, managers, or employers, or employees, has at least some of the legal rights and responsibilities enjoyed by physical human beings. So, for instance, a corporation can sue people and can also be sued. A corporation can own property, so on and so forth, right? Here are the top cable and wireless providers across the country, right? And you figure you got Comcast, and I put them in order by how many people they actually serve, right? You figure Comcast serves 111 million people. Spectrum, 101. Cox, 20 million. Optimum, or Cablevision, as it is known back east, 12 million. And then WOW, who I'd never heard of, does 7 million. And then you have the top three wireless providers for... You
said that was WOW, W-O-W?
W-O-W. I'd never heard of them, but they serve 7 million people.
I've heard of WOW as an airline, but never as a cable company. Interesting.
Yeah. Like I said, I just heard of them this morning. And then you have, I have the top three providers for phones, you know, that do wireless service. You have AT&T, who serves 306 million people, Verizon at 305, and Sprint at 279 million, right? So if we go by that definition of corporate personhood, right, you figure if you divide and we separate all the people from those entities, you have 8 people. Comcast, Spectrum, Cox, Optimum, WOW, AT&T, Verizon, and Sprint, right? Now, if you go directly by the numbers, 83% of people polled support net neutrality. 83%, right? So if you take those numbers at face, you have 320 million people in this country. You subtract 83%, that means that 265 million people supported net neutrality, right? So you figure the whims of 8 people trumped 263 million. So I will say that democracy is awesome. It's too bad we don't live in one. We live in what's called an oligarchy, and that means that we are ruled by the rich. Rich people rule us. They tell us what to do. They tell us what to buy. They tell us what to eat. They tell us what to drink. Sometimes they even tell us when we can go to sleep. They command everything. Because you figure, if I'm passing a bill, right, and 263 million people tell me, no, don't pass that bill, I'm not going to pass that bill. Because that just kind of goes against democracy, right? But if you're able, and granted, you figure Walmart is the largest employer in America, and they employ about, 1.5 million people, right? So let's just say between all these cable companies, let's just say for argument's sake that they employ 5 million people between all of them. Let's just say, I don't know, could be more, could be less. But let's just say 5 million people. Let's just say all 5 million of those people are on board with net neutrality being taken away, right? You still have 315 million people who are either against it or indifferent, but most of them being against it. Because like I said, 265 million people, said no. Don't get rid of net neutrality, okay? And the thing is, I thought he was going to just go away after the vote, but he had a Jeep pie. And a Jeep pie has the most punchable face in Martin Shkreli, the farmer bro. Like, there were people in Martin Shkreli's trial who were eliminated from serving because they said they couldn't be fair because they just hate his face. Like, they see his face and this guy looks like a smug bastard. I just want to punch him. So there's no way. And a Jeep pie is somehow more reprehensible than that. Just looking at his face and his oversized teeth. When I was a young man, when you're coming up in the world and you're dealing with people, you learn the hard way that what they say in the PSAs are true. To be cool is to basically just to be yourself, right? If you try to be something that you're not, you're going to get called on your bullshit. So you figure a Jeep pie knows that most of the country hates him right now. They know they hate. They know he knows he's the most hated person in America right now, right? So what do you think he does? Do you think after he does that vote, do you think he just fades away into the ether?
No.
Nope. He
like the monster, the infamy monster. I'm telling you.
Yeah. He makes the most condescending video you could ever make for somebody who just changed internet for the entire country. He comes out and he has, what do you say, like 7 things you could still do after the net neutrality repeal. And one of them he said, you can gram your food, meaning Instagram. And he has a plate and he's trying to take a picture. First of all, maybe because I'm older, I'm a little bit more of a veteran, I've never heard anybody refer to Instagram as gram. I've never heard my nephew say, I'm gonna gram this picture.
You never heard the phrase "do it for the gram"?
No.
Yeah. Okay. That's the thing.
Maybe I need to get out more. But it just sounds like
your food though. I ain't never heard nobody say that dumb shit. But
yeah, it just sounds like something that
is a thing.
Yeah. I've never heard that term before, and I'm just like, it just, I'm gonna gram my food. Sounds like something a douchebag would say. But he's like, and he's sitting there with his trying to, I don't know what the hell he was eating, but he was trying to like take a selfie with it, and he's like, you can still shop online. And look, I got a big deal on fidget spinners because he's trying to connect with millennials, and I'm just like, dude, you just took away their internet. Millennials hate you. You think he says, you can binge watch your favorite shows. And like he's saying, look, I watch Game of Thrones just like you guys. I'm one of you. And then the worst part of the video is when he said, and you can run memes into the ground. And then he does like a Harlem Shake video, right?
Oh, my God.
There was a bunch of people in the background. Now, here's the part about that whole thing that made me mad. The Harlem Shake thing, right? First of all, he looked like a doofus. He had like a fake lightsaber. And he just looks like an absolute doofus, right? But here's the part that made me really angry. One of the women that was in the video with him doing the Harlem Shake, all the people in the background are from a publication called the Daily Caller. Daily Caller is a right-wing publication run by douchebag bow tie enthusiast Tucker Carlson, right? They're one of those publications that only tell the truth if they're legally mandated to do it. Here's the thing. One of the women dancing in the video with him was one of the main people who pushed the Pizzagate conspiracy. And I know you've heard me mention Pizzagate a lot lately, right? And for those who are listening for the first time, Pizzagate was basically a conspiracy theory that went out stating that Hillary Clinton and John Podesta were running a child sex ring out of a D.C. pizzeria. So the ring was in their basement, even though this building does not have a basement. And it caused a crazy right-wing person to actually come in and try and, as he called it, check things out with his assault rifle, and he shot up the place. Luckily, nobody was hurt, and he gave up without a fight when the cops came. Right? But that person who pushed that conspiracy theory was dancing in the video with a Jeep pie. Here's one thing that a Jeep pie needs to realize, okay? When they poll, I forget the Democratic number of the amount of Democrats who supported net neutrality. The amount of Republicans who supported net neutrality, 75%. So when you break it down by political party, 75% of Republicans support net neutrality. You know why? Because you really think that Comcast or Cox or any of them, if they have a choice, they're going to let you run your horseshit conspiracy theory shows where Alex Jones is saying that Alexa's spying on him, and then some half-shark alligator, half-man is running around, or all that other goofy stuff? No. He's going to get censored or throttled. And these right-wingers know that.
The internet is a neutralizer. The internet, it makes people level as far as the playing field. Like everyone, once they have access to the internet, they have access to ideas. This is the equivalent of burning books in my mind. Yes. Like this is 1984 and 2017. Instead of burning books to represent the burning of ideas, you're fucking up. You're fucking with people's internet. You're going to limit your access to these things, so you can't be a free thinker.
Exactly. You figure it like this, right? You figure on the goofiest thing imaginable. Like, I don't like Hillary Clinton at all. Can't stand her. But am I dumb enough to think that she's running a child sex ring out of a pizzeria in D.C.? No. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. It doesn't matter how much I don't like you. You spread something stupid like that, but yet somebody believed it to be true and went to go check it out with their gun. What do you think is going to happen when people at freedommaga.net gets blocked from Comcast, or they get blocked from Verizon, or they get throttled so no one can see their site? And here's the thing. They know where Ajit Pai lives because they've been to his house. Not the right-wingers, but, they were protesting at his house and leaving signs outside of his house about net neutrality. So they know where he lives. So are you going to go ahead and make a video taunting people about we took your net neutrality, but you could do a couple of things. Not most things, but a couple. Now, if you think that these right-wing jackasses are going to bring their guns to check out a child sex ring that didn't exist, what do you think they're going to do for the person who took away their internet and took away their freedom? What do you think they're going to do when they know where your children sleep? And I'm not saying that to be ominous. I'm just saying that as I don't think Ajit Pai thought this through. I think Verizon, because he used to be a lawyer for Verizon, I think he just figured, well, you know what? I do this for Verizon, they give me my money, and then I'm good. I don't think he's thinking through the full ramifications of what he's doing or who he's fucking with. Because this is one of the rare times where Democrats and Republicans are on the same page. Because my thing is this. I may crack on Alex Jones all day long. I may think he runs like his ankles are about to shatter. I may think he's a repugnant piece of shit. But I would never, ever say, pull him off the air. because the internet is equal, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So all I have to do is just not. I may rag on you when you say something stupid, but I'm not going to say pull you off the air.
Yep.
Because it's the internet. We all have our space on the internet, and we're all equal. So how do you think all those AR-15 toting guys are going to react to a Jeep Pi when all of a sudden their cable bill is up by $50 and they can't even watch the videos that they want to watch? You think it's going to be good? You think they're going to write them a letter of thanks? No. They're going to do something stupid, like they always do. You talk about the same group of people who went to defend a statue of Sam Houston because no one even Googled the fact to learn that Sam Houston's not a Confederate. And they were never going to take down the statue because Sam Houston invented Houston. They named the city after him. And he was not a Confederate. And these people grabbed their guns and went to defend a statue, and it was a hoax. You know? These people are unstable. I said before that with this whole class warfare thing, someone's going to get hurt really bad. Someone high profile. Maybe a Jeep Pi, maybe one of the Koch brothers. I don't know. But someone's going to get hurt. Because the thing is, I've heard people say, if you always have options, right, that it's never as bad as it seems. But now, we're really starting to lose our options. You figure like this. I knew a person who was complaining about Obamacare. I didn't take her on because Donald Trump shortened the Obamacare enrollment period, right? So now what's going to happen is not as many people are going to be able to sign on to Obamacare because of the shortened enrollment period, and now premiums are going to go up. So people won't be able to afford their health care anymore. You know? So you're taking away their health care. You're keeping their wages stagnant and not lowering their wages. People can't afford their homes anymore. People can't afford their internet anymore. Some people won't even be able to vote because they're trying to impose ID laws. What do you think is going to happen when you take away all their options? Something good or something bad?
Definitely something bad. Dun, dun, dun.
It's going to be something bad, and it's not
a lot of bad things, actually.
It's not something I wish on people because I'm not a violent guy. I may talk a lot of shit, but I ain't going to do nothing. But then again, I don't own an AR-15. These crazy nut jobs too. I don't think a Jeep Pi thought this through. And let's just get this straight. I don't give two scores to piss what happens to a Jeep Pi. But his wife and his kids have nothing to do with this. And they may be in the crossfire. So I hope that maybe he has an escape plan. Maybe he thought this through. I don't know. But you know what? Every time I want to feel bad for a Jeep Pi, I just watch him in that ridiculous Harlem Shake video, and I'm just like, whatever happens. I just hope they don't go after his kids. I know it's a grim turn, but you know this is a grim decision because, like I said, the will of the people was just totally ignored. You even had Steve Wozniak, who co-founded Apple, speaking out against it. You had the guys who invented the internet and the World Wide Web speak out against it. You had the last director of the FCC who had his mind changed when he was back in 2015 when they were going to do away with net neutrality. And Obama kind of pressured him to not do away with net neutrality. Even he came out and spoke about it, and what he said made perfect sense. But they were just like, no, Verizon pays me, so I'm just going to, you know what's going to happen? When he leaves the FCC, he's going to go back to Verizon and make a shit ton of money.
Yep.
So I just hope he thought this through, because there are more guns in this country than people, and that is not an exaggeration. So I just hope he thought this through for the sake of him and his family.
Wouldn't that be a conflict of interest? Why isn't there outrage regarding that being a conflict of interest?
Even as far as him being a former lobbyist for Verizon?
Correct.
Or a former lawyer? Well, that's the thing. It's a horrible conflict of interest. You know? And granted, he was appointed by Obama, but he wasn't appointed to be the chairman. he was in the FCC, but he wasn't a chairman. You know. But yeah, no, you're absolutely right. You figure in other places there are mechanisms that deter conflicts of interest. Like, for instance, if you own a record label, you can't own a radio station for obvious reasons, because it just means you're just going to play all the records from your label and no one else is going to get any play.
That makes sense.
Warner Brothers broke that because they also included video channels. They secretly owned a video channel called The Box. So they would pay people to sit there all day and just order Bone Thugs and Harmony's first of the month so it could be number one, you know. But then it was found out it was owned by Warner Brothers, who was Bone Thugs and Harmony's parent label. Go figure. So
I don't know what to say.
Yeah, but I could run my mouth about this all day. Blue, what did you have?
Oh, I was on the Omarosa tip with Odie. I mean, she's pretty much said all my talking points regarding that. And then, you know, Russell Simmons got a couple more accusers regarding his his sexual harassing or assaulting them. I just think this is bananas. I mean, I like that the movement is giving people's voices, but at the same time, I don't like how accusations, which may end up being not true, have derailed someone's whole career and livelihood. I just find it I just wish there was a way for it to be not given to the media.
I feel like the protocol should be this. If you are dealing with a public figure, then, and it sounds crazy to say it, because then you get into the issue of, well, how do you deem this person a public figure? But I do think that when it's a public figure, there maybe should be a specific group of people who say, I'm going to deal with this accusation through this channel, through this group, and they have to investigate it. And if it's found out to be true, then the accuser has the option at the end to make that information public or settle it in court if they want to, or whatever. And if you want to expose somebody, then you could go ahead and expose them. And I think it would be dope if, that group of independent people who are the investigators, they just they're not on the payroll of anybody, so it definitely wouldn't be an HR anything. Mm-hmm. And they investigate it, and then the accusers have the right to say, yeah, I'm going to expose your ass. You know what I'm saying? But at least then by the time it gets exposed, it's oh, well, it was exposed because it's already been proven to be true.
Mm.
I don't know. And then maybe have a separate group of that same people who are not HR, because HR is always there in the interest of the company. So I would never expect HR, to do shit if my boss is sexually harassing me.
It all depends. I think I mentioned this before. My old job when I lived back in Maryland, HR was part of another department within there. So they were part of a medical, we had a medical director. So instead of HR being separate, they were part of the medical director's office, which was absolutely ridiculous. You figure, I worked for that job for 5 years. That job, because when they send out the job openings, they send out to everybody, even if you're not qualified for it. That job for the director of HR started at $95,000 a year, starting, right? That's the low end of that spectrum. By the time I left, we were on our 4th HR director. So when I left, they had just started bringing in the 4th HR director. One was fired, the other 2 quit. So you figure, I don't know why they quit, but I could imagine, because if you're HR, just like you said, HR is supposed to be an independent, and I did look into something in our own HR department in my job. We have people in HR who we could talk to, but for certain things, high-level things, we don't talk to anybody in the office. So in other words, there's nobody in the office that would, oh yeah, I see this person every day, I can give them the benefit of the doubt. That's a whole nother section. So if I had to call in because I was being sexually harassed, sure, I could go to the people, people inside just to answer questions. but there's another number I call, and I talk to someone else. You understand? Not somebody who sees people every day. It's not like
but
when you
at
talk
the end of the day, though, it's still your job that's paying for that service, right?
It is. It is.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm saying this needs to be a group in and of itself, like almost like private investigators of sexual harassment specifically.
Well,
so they come out with all the evidence and say, hey, these are the emails, these are the incidents that were reported, we've collected this information, talked to people, you know, and gathered the evidence. Like, they are the evidence gathered. And the fucked up part about that is, I mean, like, well, who pays for that? I guess the only way to make money in that kind of industry is if in the end it's proven to be true and, you know, you get a settlement. So, like, out of your settlement you have to pay back the private investigators or whatever. But
and that's something I may have to look into, but you figure it like this. Like, I told the story about my father and my uncle, right? Very long story short, my father had a job, and then he said, if you come back, you hire my brother, right? When my father went to America, they fired my uncle, right? So he took it up with Labor Relations Board. So he's talking about a separate entity that's not controlled by the job. This is the government, right? So he took it up with the government, and the government had its own section, like, you know, with us, you know, National Labor Relations Board. I don't know what it was called back then. You're talking about the late 60s. But they reviewed the case, and then they ruled they said, well, you don't have to keep him employed, but you have to pay him severance. So if there was a government agency, and if there is, let us know in the comments. We didn't look into this beforehand. But you figure if Russell Simmons got accused of rape, and the last thing I heard, it was rape. And what's supposed to happen is the cops are supposed to look into this, because if rape is a felony, you do time for that. But we're talking about something that may have happened years ago, right? Now, this is not victim blaming, because I know if someone... Let me put it like this. As a man, if I got raped, I'm not telling you. I'm not telling anybody, you know, and I'm not saying it to be funny, but it's a matter of, you know, someone is humiliated, they may be threatened. There's a reason why you don't come out and just say it right away, especially if it's somebody powerful like a Russell Simmons or a Harvey Weinstein.
Right.
But when something is old like that, it would require special investigation. So I agree with you 100%. There should be somebody who looks into it. Fox News did that. Put it like this. The reason why Fox News paid some people and didn't pay other people is because they investigated it.
Yep.
So they investigated, they're like, okay, Bill O'Reilly really did sexually harass this woman, pay her. Or Angela Taranto said, Bill, we don't have enough. There's not enough proof, so we're not going to pay you. I think I got her last name wrong, but you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, I think someone should be investigating this before, like, I don't know what happened with Marcia Falk and all them, ESPN. No, are they ESPN or are they Fox Sports? Marcia Falk and
maybe this is all that needs to happen then. Basically, the accusers aren't allowed to come out. Maybe this needs to be something legislative that's changed. But the accusers, because I hear where Blue is coming from. Like, at the end of the day, we don't know if any of these people are true or not. But once it's out there, it's out there. And these people's reputations are being damaged even if it's not true. So, like, you could have had 20 accusers come out, and each and every one of them conspired against you, and then your name is exonerated, but that's going to be a footnote, you understand? So it's not, your name is always going to be tied to that scandal, even if it's not true. So I do think that something maybe legally has to change, because the whole point is you don't want to discourage people from coming out, but you also want to say you don't want to allege this. Like, if you're going to do it, then it should just be alleged in the court of law, and that's kind of where it should be kept.
Right.
I think that's what to say.
You know, and the thing is this, you know, unfortunately, there is a statute of limitations on rape. So you figure Dennis Hastert, I spoke about him a few times, he didn't go to prison for the rapes, because all those rapes happened so long ago when he raped those boys. It was basically he went for paying them hush money with government funds. That's what he went to prison for. But there's a statute of limitations on rape. So you figure, even in the case of Roy Moore, right? If Roy Moore, having that sexual relationship with, well, it wasn't a sexual relationship, but he molested that 14-year-old, the 16-year-old that he attempted to rape, right? That got pushed out of his car, right? Allegedly. Sorry, Blue. Allegedly. He wouldn't go to jail for that because that happened 40 years ago. So there's a statute of limitations on that. But now, when you think of Roy Moore, what's the first thing you think of? Oh, he's a teen squeezer, as Stephen Colbert said. Forget the fact that he's a virulent racist and bigot. Yep. So even if he wasn't a child predator, he's still a horrible human being. But first on that list is, hey, he loves to hunt teenagers. And he can't even go to the goddamn mall because he loves chasing after 14-year-olds. So you're right, that sticks with you. I love Louis C.K. I can't watch his comedy anymore. I just can't. Like, I tried, and I'm just like, I got like 4 jokes in, and I was just like, and I was laughing, but I was like, I just can't do it anymore.
I also think, too, I don't know, that like that's a very slippery slope.
Yeah.
If it is found out that a woman lied, like, and I don't mean like in the case of like a real he said, she said, like maybe in the Cosby accuser's case, but I mean like, I'm thinking like Emmett Till, like this chick lied, you know what I'm saying, and somebody lost their life over that shit, then there needs to be repercussions for the liars. Because we also need to discourage the liars as a society, too. Like, yo, we're not putting up with this shit. It's not that nobody believes you, sis. We're just saying, or bro, sometimes. But we're not saying nobody believes you, but we also want to lend support to the truth tellers. Like, we want to keep the liars who are making the truth tellers look bad out of this equation altogether. And there do need to be repercussions for people that straight up lie. Just like there's evidence to exonerate people, that means that there's evidence showing that someone lied for one reason or another, whether that be financial gain or whatever. Now, it's one thing, I mean, because I understand we can say, well, there's not enough evidence here to pursue. That doesn't mean that you lied. But if there is evidence to indicate that you did lie and you were deceptive by, putting the blame on people when it shouldn't have been there at all, oh, yeah, your ass need to go to jail. Period.
I'm trying to remember his last name. I think his first name was Brian. He was the one who spent 6 years in prison for a rape he did not commit. And
the player?
Yes. The girl who accused him, her and her mother sued the school because the imaginary rape happened on school grounds, and they got $1.5 million in settlement. So when it was found out that she was lying, because after he got out, he confronted her and taped their conversation, and she admitted that she lied. You know what she got? Oh, you got to pay back the money. But as far as I know, and if I'm wrong, put it in the comments. As far as I know, she didn't spend a day in jail. This guy lost 6 years of his life to be in the NFL, and yeah, she's got to pay back some money that she got.
That's some bullshit.
And don't get me wrong, if I was $1.5 million in debt, that's a hangable offense. I know that's not something to laugh at, because there are a lot of, I was watching a documentary, there are some people, like, when they go far enough into debt, they'll end it all because they feel they're never going to get out. One of them was a college student who got a credit card at like 19 and racked up like $30,000 in debt, and he ended up killing himself over it. But here's the thing, that just depends on the person. I think that they should share their, if he got 6 years in prison and she lied to get him in prison, she should do 6 years. I know that sounds very
very eye for an eye-ish.
Eye for an eye-ish, but I mean, if you're, but like you said, that should weed out the liars, because you figure if you're, and here's the thing, to be proven as a liar, you have to actually be proven as a liar. I don't mean, as Julian Assange said, I hate quoting him because I can't stand him, a misunderstanding of a consensual sex. I'm talking about a true conspiracy to lie on someone for the purpose of putting them in prison or ruining their career.
or for financial gain. Whatever your reasons are, like, no, like, I'm not with that shit. Like, we can all agree that like, something needs to be done about that as well, without discouraging the real victims. Like I said, it's a huge difference with saying, with calling someone a liar and saying, no, this rape did not happen, versus there's not enough evidence to pursue this and jail the person who you're accusing of having raped you. There's a huge difference there. And I think once people understand that difference, and we can do something about this shit. Like, the only person to my knowledge that out of all these accusers, though, and that's what also kind of gives a little credence to what's happening here. So most of the people who have been accused, the only exception is Tavis Smiley. Now, Tavis Smiley might just be built different. Maybe he's on some like I'm going to be the one, and this shit really didn't happen in his mind, and maybe it really did. I don't know. But he is the only one out of all the accusers, or out of all the accused, who has said, I'm going to fight this and exonerate myself because I didn't do shit. So I think out of all of them, it should be really interesting to follow. But Dustin Hoffman's had more accusers come forward. Several people have had more accusers come forward.
Yeah, and I would never, I mean, I'm not a big fan of Tavis Smiley, but, you know, with him and Cornel West and the whole Obama thing, but at the same time, I would never have pegged him for, but then again, you never know.
Yeah, you never know.
Everybody thought Jeffrey Dahmer was that nice boy who cut lawn for people. Didn't know he had a whole bunch of black people cut up in his refrigerator. So, you just never know until it happens. But, I mean, if Tavis is willing to fight it, we'll see. We'll just have to wait and see what happens in the end. Oh, that uncomfortable silence. I know it's not a bright and sunny topic. It's not a sunshiny topic, but I mean, it is the topic of the day. I mean, every day you're hearing about somebody else who's been suspended or, you know, accused of something, and, you know, it's going to get to the point where some more extreme people, and yes, before I say that it's only a joke, don't unsubscribe, but you're going to get people who are going to be like, you know what, the only way to avoid sexual harassment suits, don't hire women. And if you hire women, don't talk to them. You know, that of course is an extreme exaggeration, but I mean, I think some people, it's going to affect some people because, I mean, the ones who don't do it, because you figure every day someone else is going down. You know, I just heard about Tavis Smiley yesterday. You know, and then Russell Simmons, I thought it was sexual misconduct, and this morning I'm looking at it and it was, he's being investigated by the police for rape. So it's, you know, it's a lot to take in at once. You know, ever since Harvey Weinstein, it's like it just opened up the floodgates. But, you know, it also comes to men having to learn how to treat women, because I don't think that.
Absolutely.
I don't think that. I mean, it's not like, even with the Marshall Faulk thing, you know. And what was it, McFaulk? I forget. But it was basically, it wasn't just a matter of asking her on a date and her saying no, and he kept asking her. It was more like he was sending, one woman got groped. They were sending her explicit texts. Like, you're not at your college fraternity. You're a grown-ass man. And working with grown-ass people, you can't do that, you know. And you would figure that I'm at a loss here. Help me out here, because even if you were like me, where your parents never really taught you about the birds and the bees, you could just really just look out and just look at the landscape and just say, okay, this is how you would talk to women. Oh, I wouldn't talk to a woman like that. There has to be a level of common sense where it's like, okay, especially when you're at work,
well,
that you can't just treat work like a bar on a Friday night.
Well, the fact that, look, okay, clearly you haven't been on any online dating apps, because, well, even if you have been, you don't know what the guys are saying to the girls. But basically, running out of ideas, and that's how you end up with dick pics, and like when you're like getting, hey, how you doing, and then you get a dick pic. Like it's bad out here. I don't know where the disconnect came. I don't know if it's in the music. I don't know if it's what's on TV. But yeah, it's.
I will say one thing. I was on for a little while, and I may even still have a profile on there. I have all my clothes on now. But there's a site called Adult Friend Finder. So it's basically like, you know how most dating sites are just like, hey, I want to find a companion, you know, maybe someone to share some laughs with. And basically, Adult Friend Finder is basically, hey, you want to come fuck my wife? That's not an exaggeration. There are guys who just say, hey, you know, you think my wife is hot, you want to fuck her? Here, you know, check out our profile, and then you can come over and have sex with her. That's like and that was just too much for me. Like, it's one of those things where you thought that that's what you wanted until you saw it. Now it's just like,
yeah, no.
but a site like that to me is like an anomaly, as opposed to something like OkCupid or something like.
No. I'm saying I don't use friend sites like that, and I'm saying like that's what still comes up. I'm gonna tag you in something later, and I'll let you watch it to see how bad it really is. But yeah.
But I don't know where it started, because I mean I guess I figure it like this. Even though my parents never had that whole birds in the sea talk with me, they always had the respect talk. Like, you have to respect people. Like, there's no two ways about it. That's it. The quickest way to get a beating in my house is either A, get suspended from school, fight with one another, be disrespectful to anybody, not just adults, other children as well. If my father saw me being disrespectful to another child, that's an automatic beating. Like, get in the house, get my belt. Respect all the way. And I think that translates into other things. But, you know, I can't imagine just talking to women like that. To just walk up to women and just saying all that, what do they call it, locker room talk? Especially at work. Because it just seems like a work is where you have to show the most respect. And all these guys are going down because they're just sending people dick pics to their coworkers at work. It doesn't make any sense. And then they wonder why there are so many sexual harassment claims out there. So
I'm pretty sure my man's just going to have to be foreign, and that's the end of it. He's not going to be American. I'm convinced that it is an American issue, but we'll see.
I don't know. Well, I'm saying I don't know because I've never been anywhere. Only place I've ever been outside the United States was to St. Lucia and Dominica, and that was like 25 years ago. So it's not like I hang out in Germany and can just tell you how Germans are with their women, or the French, or in Uganda or anywhere like that. So
right.
But I don't think it's an American thing. I just think but I do think that Americans have a huge problem with it, as far as dealing with women and talking with women. Respectfully, that is. So, Blue, you've been kind of quiet. You have anything else to add?
Nah, not really.
Well, thanks.
He's just playing in the background today. So.
All right, well, that's all I got for you.
Yeah.
All right.
Odie, you have... go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, I was going to ask Odie if you had anything else before we wrap this up.
No, I'm just gonna say my final words are: let the force be with you. I know you guys are really excited about Star Wars, so I'm gonna let you be great and enjoy that, because I don't really care about the franchise.
You know what? You should care about this one, because this movie, I mean, I heard some people, like diehard critics, say, oh, this one was as good as Empire Strikes Back, and I'm like, that's a bold assessment. So, and
I just saw somebody that said it could have been much better. So,
my
people I wish would make movies.
Yeah.
I look forward to seeing stuff like that.
My boss gave us for our team like 2 free movie tickets. So yeah, I'm definitely going to go see Star Wars.
He says, deep breath, Star Wars could have been better by quite a bit. He said it was not bad so much as bloated and terribly edited. For example, that entire pointless side story could have been cut to no one's disappointment. I'm trying to read stuff that doesn't have spoilers. Let me talk about a Leo scene. Yeah, but then the comments say we'll have to agree to disagree on this one. But then he says 2/3 of the plot was pointless. You could literally do a cut with just core scenes and primary characters. So, I don't know. Yeah, I'm going to let y'all enjoy that. I'm going to geek out.
I do see some validity. The movie was a bit long. There definitely there could have been some stuff they could have did without that didn't add anything to the storyline per se. So I agree with that. They tried to use some of the same formula that they had in previous Star Wars movies, from the first round, from the 70s and early 80s, and it fell short. But I enjoyed the movie. I thought it was one of the best. It definitely was better than the prequels.
Okay.
Well, everything is better than the prequels. Yeah, I saw the first prequel in the movies, and I was just like, nah. And even The Force Awakens, I think it was overhyped. It was a good movie. I thought it was overhyped. But I liked it enough to buy it on Blu-ray. So, but I've been hearing a lot of good things about this. But the one thing I hear complaints about is the length. What was it, Blue? 2.5 hours?
I want to say 2:40. Done. I got there at 10:30. I didn't get out of there till 1:30.
Jeez.
Yeah, but that's because they had to ask commercials. I think the commercials themselves ran 30 minutes.
If I wanted to watch commercials, I would just wait until it came on to like CBS and just watch it then. I had to watch the commercials because I had to get there early because amazingly enough, at that late show, it was packed at South Point.
But wait a minute, you still go to a movie theater where they don't let you pick your seat when you pay?
Yeah, South Point don't do that. The only one I know that over on my side would be in Chapel Hill. The Cinnabon.
Damn, that sucks. Yeah, I love that. I love having my seat picked out. That way ain't no problems. Yeah. Whatever. I'll just roll up in there whenever I feel like it. Kick back.
And it gets enough space so that if you have to get up, you're not in anybody's way. It's just like
yeah, like that Cinnabon one. It's like you can lay back and it's like you lounging. They got them lounge ones. It's like shit.
Gary Clarkson is like that now too.
I messed around and had sex on one of them things one day. Watch out. Now, we were the only ones up in there, you know what I'm saying? West Coast style. You dig what I'm saying? Shit.
You the only ones up in there. You went to go see Justice League? No, I'm kidding.
Oh, hell no. But they couldn't get no heart for no damn Justice League.
No comment.
Oh, they lost so much money. But, for my final words, it's kind of hard to say because there's so much going on right now, But we just got to keep putting the pressure on our Congress people. It's all we can do right now, Because now I heard that 2 more people who were against the tax bill flipped and said that now they're going to vote for it. So it's going to pass, no matter what. But we just got to hold these people's feet to the fire and let them know, yeah, sure, you're going to vote for this, but it's going to be the last thing you vote for. Because in 2018, we're going to vote you out. And just hold to that. So, I guess the long and short of it is my final word is basically, it has to be reality over ideology. Your ideology is cool on paper for your manifestos, but the reality of it is, you're not going to have any health care, you're not going to have...
Call Carol Hopkins.
Oh
shit, I forgot my thing was live.
Oh my gosh.
But you get what I'm saying. Blue, what are your final words?
Yeah, let the force be with you and facts over feelings.
Yeah.
Hello? I guess Blue has no final words. Yeah, all right. Well, I feel obliged to do some Countdown for Live type of outro, but it just would feel wrong if I did that. So we're gonna let Blue get down to his work today and wrap things up at this point.
All right.
All right.
All right, and that concludes another episode of the Always Poppin', Always Panties Dropping. Don't stop. Don't stop it. No, you better stop, because when she says no, you better say no. And don't be pushing up on her, and don't say anything out of the way, because 10 years down the line, oh, he sexually harassed me. He did this and he did that. And I ain't taking nothing from the true stories. I'm taking from the stories that were consensual, and now you just trying to get on, or you trying to do something to unhinge them. And I think that's bullshit. You did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, Christmas is Monday, so the 23rd is Saturday, so it's good for Saturday, but
I'll be around. I'm not going out of town or anything, so I'll be around. That's fine. I'm down to do it.
So as far as the Monday show goes, did you want to just take it later on in the week?
Should've known better, this shit won't bout to last. Cause you kept running back to your past. Like gravity, somehow I got caught in your spin. I believed you, but there was no way I could win. You had me in the dark while you wasted my time. You said we could move forward, but then press rewind. So under the moonlight, you said that our love would collide. Just like the wind blew, you up and changed direction. Now I really regret the day that I met you. You told me you loved me, you took me for granted. That bullshit you fed me, you never said, never should have trusted you. Had me in the dark while you wasted my time. You said we could move forward, but then press rewind. I'm so done with you, I'm tired of being a fool. I'm not messing with you, I'm not fucking with you. I'm not fucking with you, I'm not fucking with you. I'm so done with you, I'm tired of being a fool. I'm not messing with you, I'm not fucking with you. I'm not fucking with you, I'm not fucking with you. I'm so done with you, I'm tired of being a fool. I'm not messing with you, I'm not fucking with you. I'm not fucking with you, I'm not. You had me in the dark while you wasted my time. You had me in the dark while you wasted my time. I'm sick and tired of being your side, nigga. Stop coming around wasting time. Well, yeah, I'm not waiting on you to figure if you really want him or if you really want me. My dog niggas got your ass feeling for the line. You had me so anxious, but you weren't genuine. Quarter bitches got audacity. Not a third, not a half. You had me in the dark while you wasted my time. I'm not fucking with you. I'm so done with you. I'm tired of being a fool. I'm not messing with you. I'm not fucking with you. I'm not fucking with you. I'm not fucking with you. I'm so done with you. I'm tired of